They don't show up on lab results. You won't find them in medical textbooks. But these 10 silent habits are quietly damaging the lives of countless older adults, and most have no idea. As a doctor who has spent decades working with patients over 50, I've seen it far too often. Someone walks into my office complaining of loneliness, fatigue, or a sense that life has lost its color. Their blood work looks fine, their heart sounds strong, but something deeper is off, and it almost always traces back to small daily behaviors that seem harmless, until they steal your joy, strain your relationships, and erode your well-being one quiet day at a time. This video isn't just about physical health. It's about emotional resilience, human connection, and the invisible habits that shape how we age. You might be doing some of these things without even realizing it. We'll meet people like Sarah, whose journey will sound familiar to many of you. From brushing off help to clinging to clutter, from snapping at others to forgetting how to laugh, these behaviors can feel innocent, but their long-term effects are serious. The good news? Every one of them is reversible. So if you've ever felt disconnected, stuck in old patterns, or simply want to age with more dignity, freedom, and joy, stay with me. What you learn today might just change how you live tomorrow. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1. Becoming too negative or critical. It often begins with a sigh, a harmless complaint about the weather, a quick grumble about kids these days. But over time, those little comments pile up. Without even realizing it, you begin to lead every conversation with frustration. Instead of connecting, you start pushing people away. That's exactly what happened to Sarah. She was once the heart of her family gatherings, always laughing, always welcoming. But as the years passed, she found herself complaining more and smiling less. The news made her angry. Her joints ached. And every time her grandkids mentioned something modern, social media, new music, slang, she would roll her eyes and say, "Back in my day, we had real conversations." At first, her family brushed it off. But slowly, visits became shorter. Phone calls stopped, and the silence grew louder. Sarah didn't realize the impact of her negativity until one Thanksgiving when only one family member showed up. Her grandson, eyes down, mumbled, "I just didn't want to hear another rant today." That moment hit her like a cold wind, not because they didn't love her, but because they felt drained every time they left. Research from the University of California shows that negative communication habits can increase loneliness in older adults and reduce meaningful social engagement. But here's the hopeful truth. Just as negativity spreads, so does positivity. Sarah made a decision. She began each morning by naming one thing she was grateful for. She started asking her grandkids questions about their interests, not to criticize, but to understand. And slowly the warmth returned. The energy you put into the world is what comes back to you. If you want connection, start by shifting the tone of your words. You'll be surprised how quickly others lean in again. Number 2. Neglecting personal hygiene and appearance. It doesn't happen overnight. One day you skip fixing your hair because you're not going anywhere. Another day you stay in your house clothes all afternoon because they're comfortable. Before long, the mirror becomes something you avoid. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to disappear from yourself. That's what happened to Sarah. She used to love getting ready in the morning. Her closet was filled with bright blouses and matching earrings, a little lipstick, a spritz of her favorite perfume, and she felt ready to face the world. But after retirement, and especially after her husband passed, the motivation faded. Why bother dressing up if no one's around to see it? Weeks turned into months. She stopped going out for coffee with friends. When they did call, she always said she wasn't feeling up to it. But the truth was, she didn't feel like herself. One morning, she looked at an old photo on the fridge. There she was, smiling, vibrant, glowing, and she whispered, "Where did she go?" The next day, something changed. She pulled out her favorite turquoise blouse, the one that always made her feel like sunshine. She brushed her hair, added a touch of color to her cheeks, and looked in the mirror. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled back. Studies have shown that maintaining basic grooming habits can reduce feelings of depression and increase self-esteem, especially in older adults. It's not about vanity, it's about dignity. It's about saying to the world, and to yourself, I still matter. Sarah didn't need a fancy occasion. She just needed a reason. And that reason was her. And once she started showing up for herself, others noticed. Compliments returned. Invitations followed. But more importantly, her spark came back. One blouse, one moment, one choice to feel alive again. Number 3. Being stubborn and resisting change. I don't need all that tech stuff, Sarah used to say, waving off her granddaughter's offers to show her how to use a smartphone. If they want to talk to me, they can call. But the calls became fewer. The updates stopped. Family events were shared through group texts, photos passed around in apps she didn't use. Without realizing it, Sarah was slowly becoming invisible in her own family's life. At first, she thought it was just how things were. The younger generation was busy. But what she didn't see was that her resistance to change was closing doors that led to connection, joy, and a sense of belonging. One Sunday, after missing her great-grandson's birthday party because the invite was sent through a family group chat, Sarah finally asked for help. Her granddaughter sat down beside her, gently guided her through the basics of texting, and set her up with a family chat. Within minutes, Sarah's screen lit up. Pictures of cake, smiling faces, her grandson singing a silly song, all moments she would have missed. That night she received her very first text message. Love you, Grandma. Tears welled up, not from sadness, but from being part of something again. Aging doesn't mean we stop growing. In fact, studies from the National Institute on Aging suggest that learning new skills, even simple ones like using a phone app, can boost brain health and emotional well-being. Change can feel uncomfortable, even scary, but it can also be the bridge back to the people and experiences that matter most. Sarah didn't need to become a tech expert. She just needed to say, I'll try. And that one step brought her back into the heart of her family. Number 4, hoarding and refusing to let go of clutter. Sarah didn't think of herself as a hoarder. Every drawer, every shelf in her home held something special. A birthday card from 1983, her son's baby shoes, stacks of newspapers she swore she'd read one day. Her house wasn't messy, she told herself. It was full of memories. But over time, those memories became obstacles. Literally. One afternoon, she tripped over a box of old photo albums left near the hallway. That fall didn't break any bones, but it shook something inside her. She looked around and saw what she hadn't noticed before. Piles of things, layers of dust, and a heaviness in the air that didn't used to be there. Clutter isn't just physical. It weighs on your mind. It clutters your thoughts, your sleep, and even your relationships. Studies from UCLA's Center on Everyday Lives and Families found that high household clutter levels are linked to increased cortisol, the stress hormone, especially in older adults. Sarah decided to begin, not with the whole house, just one box, then one drawer. She set a timer for 15 minutes a day and let herself decide, keep, donate, or toss. At first it was emotional. Letting go felt like losing pieces of her past. But soon, something amazing happened. Each cleared space made her breathe easier. Her living room looked brighter. She found a handwritten letter from her late husband and framed it, placing it where she could see it every morning. By the end of the month, Sarah could walk freely through her home again. And for the first time in years, she invited her neighbor over for tea. The table was clear, the room was calm, and her heart felt light. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means making room for peace, for safety, for joy. And all it takes is one drawer, one moment, one brave choice to begin. Number 5. Losing patience with others too quickly. It's a quiet shift that often happens with age. Little things start to bother you more. A slow walker in the grocery aisle, a young clerk fumbling with the register, that driver who won't turn when the light's green. The fuse gets shorter, and before you know it, frustration takes the wheel. Sarah was usually calm, but one afternoon at the market, her patience snapped. She was in a hurry, her back hurt, and the young cashier was moving like molasses. He dropped her bread, struggled to open a bag, and stuttered through his greeting. Without thinking, Sarah blurted, "Can you go any slower?" The boy froze. His hands trembled. He didn't say a word, and in that silence Sarah saw something that stopped her cold. His eyes. They weren't annoyed. They were scared. That night the scene replayed in her mind. She realized he wasn't lazy. He was nervous, probably new, maybe even having a bad day. And her words didn't just hurt him. They hurt her too. That flash of anger had turned a simple errand into a moment of regret. According to research from the American Psychological Association, chronic irritability in older adults can increase stress levels and harm relationships. But patience, even in small doses, has the opposite effect. It lowers anxiety, improves mood, and builds connection. The next week, Sarah saw the same cashier again. This time she smiled. "You're getting faster," she said warmly. His face lit up, and something softened in her too. Patience isn't weakness. It's strength wrapped in kindness. It says, "I see you, I've been there. It's okay." And sometimes that's all someone needs to keep going. When you feel that frustration bubbling up, take a breath. Pause. Then offer what the world could always use more of: grace. Number 6, talking too much and not listening. Sarah had always been the storyteller in her family. Holidays, birthdays, even casual phone calls, she could fill the room with laughter and memories. She had wisdom to share, advice to give, and stories that stretched back decades. But one evening, during what she thought was a normal conversation, her daughter said something that stopped her cold. "Mom, I love hearing your stories, but sometimes I don't feel like there's space for me." It wasn't said in anger, just quiet honesty. And in that moment, Sarah realized she hadn't been having conversations. She'd been giving speeches. It's easy to slip into that habit, especially as we get older. We want to pass on what we've learned. We want to protect our kids from making the same mistakes. But when we fill every silence with our own voice, there's no room left for theirs. True connection isn't just about talking, it's about listening. Research from Harvard School of Public Health shows that older adults who maintain strong two-way communication with loved ones experience lower rates of depression and cognitive decline. Sarah decided to try something new. The next time her daughter called, she asked, "What's been on your mind lately?" Then she paused. Really paused. She listened without interrupting, without jumping in with her own story, without fixing anything. And something amazing happened. Her daughter opened up like never before. They laughed, cried, and for the first time in a long while, Sarah didn't feel like the wise one holding everything together. She felt like a mother simply being there. The greatest gift we can give someone is our full attention. So next time you're in a conversation, try this: ask, listen, and hold the silence a little longer. Sometimes the words you don't say are the ones that bring you closest. Number 7, rejecting help and pushing people away. "I've got it." That's what Sarah always said, even when she didn't. Carrying heavy groceries from the car, reaching for something high on a shelf, struggling with a stuck door, she refused help every time. She had spent her whole life being the strong one, the caregiver, the one others leaned on. Asking for help felt like giving up a part of her identity. But one afternoon it all caught up to her. She was trying to lift a heavy bag of pet food into her trunk when a young man walking by stopped and offered, "Need a hand?" Without hesitation, she forced a smile and replied, "No, thank you." As she wrestled with the weight alone, her back flared in pain. The man walked away slowly, clearly wanting to do more. And in that quiet moment, Sarah felt something deeper than back strain. She felt lonely. Later that night, she sat at her kitchen table thinking, why had she said no? Why was it so hard to let someone help? Studies from the Journal of Gerontology show that older adults who resist assistance often experience higher rates of loneliness and depression. The truth is, accepting help doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It gives others the gift of feeling useful. It builds bridges. The very next week, Sarah saw that same young man at the store. This time, she smiled and said, "Actually, yes, I'd love a little help today." His face lit up as he carried her bag, and they shared a small laugh that warmed her whole afternoon. That one yes didn't just ease her burden, it softened her heart. Independence is important, but connection is vital. Letting others help isn't a loss of strength. It's a sign of trust, of openness, of being truly alive in the world around you. Number 8, being too frugal to enjoy life. For decades, Sarah had been the queen of saving. She clipped coupons religiously, skipped vacations, and always chose the cheaper option. She had done it for good reason, to build a nest egg, to stay secure. But somewhere along the way, that smart habit turned into something else, a quiet fear. What if I run out? What if I need this money later? So when her longtime friend Emily invited her on a weekend getaway to the countryside, just the two of them, fresh air, laughter, and a cozy inn, Sarah's first instinct was no. "Too expensive," she said. "Maybe next time." But later that evening, as she sat alone on her couch with the TV droning in the background, she looked around and asked herself, next time for what? She had money in the bank, but her days felt empty. Her calendar was full of caution, not joy, and she realized something powerful. Saving money means little if you never spend it on the life you've worked so hard for. According to research from Cornell University, people who spend on experiences rather than material things report higher long-term happiness and satisfaction. The memories last. The joy lingers. Sarah changed her mind. That weekend trip turned out to be magical. They ate warm bread at a little bakery, hiked through golden fields, and stayed up late laughing like teenagers. It wasn't extravagant. It wasn't fancy. But it was full of life. And for the first time in years, Sarah felt free. Spending doesn't have to mean splurging. It means choosing joy when the moment calls for it. Because at the end of life, we won't remember the coupons we saved. We'll remember the sunsets, the laughter, and the people we said yes to. Number 9, talking down to younger generations. Sarah adored her grandson, Noah. His visits were the highlight of her week. But lately, something had changed. Their conversations felt shorter. He was quieter, distracted, always looking at his phone. One afternoon, when he excitedly mentioned a new game he was playing, Sarah barely looked up from her knitting. "Back in my day, we didn't waste time staring at screens," she muttered. Noah's smile faded, and within minutes, he said he had to go. The door closed, and so did a piece of their connection. It wasn't that Sarah didn't love him, she did. But without realizing it, her words had built a wall. She thought she was sharing wisdom. Instead, she was making him feel small, dismissed, unheard. It's easy to fall into that trap, to believe that because we've lived longer, we know better. But every generation faces its own challenges, navigates its own world. Talking down doesn't bridge that gap. It widens it. Studies from the Journal of Intergenerational Relationships show that mutual respect between age groups strengthens emotional bonds, improves communication, and reduces loneliness in older adults. The next time Noah came over, Sarah made a different choice. When he mentioned another game, she paused, smiled, and said, "Tell me more about that." His eyes lit up. For the first time in weeks, he leaned in. He talked. She listened. They laughed. That simple shift from judgment to curiosity changed everything. Respect goes both ways. When you honor their world, they'll invite you into it. And in doing so, you don't just stay close. You stay relevant, connected, and deeply loved. Number 10, holding on to grudges and regrets. Some wounds don't leave bruises, but they stay with us just the same. A bitter word from years ago. A broken relationship never mended. A mistake we keep reliving in the quiet of night. Sarah carried those things like heavy stones in her heart. She didn't talk about them, but they showed up, in her silence, in her tension, in the way her smile never quite reached her eyes. One afternoon she sat down with a cup of tea and an old photo album. Page after page brought back warm memories until she reached one that stopped her cold. A picture of her and her sister laughing on a beach. They hadn't spoken in over a decade, not since the falling out. The memory, once sweet, now ached. That night, unable to shake the weight of it, Sarah pulled out a sheet of paper. She wrote everything she'd held inside. The hurt, the anger, the sadness. She didn't plan to send it. That wasn't the point. The act of writing became the release. With each word, she let go. The next morning, she burned the letter in her fireplace, watched the paper curl and turn to ash, and with it, something inside her softened. For the first time in years, she felt light. Holding on to grudges might feel like protection, but in truth, they trap us in the past. According to the Mayo Clinic, forgiveness can lower blood pressure, reduce depression, and even boost immunity. But more than that, it gives us back our peace. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's about choosing freedom over bitterness. It's about making space for joy to return. And sometimes the person you free isn't them, it's you. Sarah couldn't rewrite the past, but by letting go, she gave herself a future that felt open again. You can too. Aging well isn't just about the number of candles on your birthday cake. It's about how much light you still bring into the room. It's not about avoiding wrinkles or counting steps. It's about living meaningfully, staying connected, and continuing to grow no matter your age. Throughout this video, we've uncovered 10 common habits that often sneak into our lives as we get older. Some of them feel harmless. Others are born from pride, fear, or routine. But over time, they quietly create distance between us and the people we love, between us and the joy we deserve. The good news? You have the power to change any of them starting right now. Maybe it's letting go of that one grudge that's been weighing you down. Maybe it's saying yes when someone offers a helping hand. Or maybe it's something as simple as listening more or smiling at a stranger. Whatever it is, let go of what holds you back and make room for what lifts you up. So now I invite you to pause and reflect. Which of these habits do you recognize in yourself or someone you love? Share it in the comments below and tell us one small change you're ready to make today. You never know who your story might inspire. If this message spoke to you, please like, share, and subscribe to Live Healthy After 50. Together, we're not just adding years to our lives, we're adding life to our years. Let's grow stronger, wiser, and more connected with every step forward.